Now we are going to add, subtract, multiply, divide integers. So we're just taking the numbers and using one of these ways to solve it. So when we add, we could take like 5 plus 4, and that would equal 9. Now you might have a negative number. So if you have a negative 3 plus 2, that would be a negative 1. And another way to look at that is to think of it on a number line. So you have the negatives on this side and the positives on that side. So we're going to start at negative 3, which is right here. And then we have a positive 2. So if you start in the negatives and you have a positive that you have to add to it, I want you to think you're going back up to the positives. So we're just going to go over 1, 2. And that's how we end up at negative 1. If you start with a positive number, like 8 minus 5, you get 3. You're just going at a higher number on the positive side and then going backwards. Now, if you have a negative 4 minus 1, that can get a little tricky. One way I like to deal with that is to think of it as just going plus minus, because that way you see that it's literally adding together two negative numbers, which gives you that negative 5. So I'll write it again. You had negative 4 minus 1. So when you see it like that, I want you to think I have two negatives and I'm just making it a bigger negative. So negative 4 minus 1 equals negative 5. Plus minus. Negative 4, negative 1 equals negative 5. Something to work on. Now we're going to multiply. 6 times 3, 18. We have to remember though, if we have one negative, you keep it a negative. Negative 5 times 2 equals negative 10. Now we have to remember, if you have two negatives, you turn it into a positive. Negative 4 times negative 3 equals 12. So when you multiply integers, you take two positives to keep it a positive, or you do one negative and a positive to keep it a negative, or two negatives to get a positive. So I suggest writing down in your notes right now something like this. Positive plus positive equals positive. Negative, let's say times positive equals negative. And then a negative times a negative gives you positive. You can take the first one as adding and multiplying. But these two are really important to remember. The negative times positive equals a negative, and then the negative times a negative equals a positive. And that's also the same for division. So you could do like 8 divided by 2 gives you 4. But let's say you have negative 6 divided by 3. That stays a negative, just like in the multiplication. So you get negative 2. If you have negative 10 divided by negative 5, you get a positive 2. So you can add the division sign in the middle here. So you remember that for division too. But those are what get people tricked. And we don't want to get tricked. So we have to remember positive times or divided by a positive, you get a positive. Negative multiplied or divided by a positive will give you a negative. Negative multiplied or divided by a negative, you get a positive all the time. So you want to remember that. It'll make things a lot easier.